All right, you guys. So this is what your SketchUp file theoretically is going to look like. All right, I'm going to zoom out and orbit around. Zoom out, orbit around. I'm going to grab my hand tool, slide it over, see what's going on. Okay, so I've got my 3 gray walls over here. 1, 2, 3. I have my back wall, which is newsprint, and then my floor. And so now the last thing I need to do to make this look like that set for the show is drop in a few pieces of furniture. And I'm just going to pull those from the warehouse over here. Is that the warehouse? No. This component thingy, that's the warehouse. So the chair I used is a navy chair. And it looks like any of these. This is the Emiko version. This is more expensive than the one that I have, but you know, let's drop it in there. Baby is very small. That's a tiny chair. I wonder if the other one is bigger. We might want to adjust that. Let me try another one and see if it's not itsy bitsy, like a chair for ants. What's this first one? That's a normal chair. Okay. Great. Now there's a weird thing happening. What's going on over there? Spacebar. H for hand tool. What's all this noise? Why is it so big? It's just a wee chair. Why has it got a big old box? Life is strange. What about this one? Let's see if this one is a normal sized and not weird. Ho ho, look at that. That's a good one. Look, it didn't come in weird, came in a normal size, no gigantical box, not teeny small. Okay, so I tried 3 and I got one that finally worked. I'm gonna delete these other 2 because they're not helping me in life, okay? So if we go kind of up into our top plan view, we can lay out the chairs sort of the way that they were in that one scene at the beginning of the play, which is to say, select. Great. M for move. Let's move it up here. There's 3 of them. Now I'm holding Option as I make copies. And then let's, oh, no. Make a couple more copies. One here, and one, well, that didn't work. I have to let go of Option and click it all again. There it is. Great. All right. So there's 5 chairs sort of spread out like this. Now I need a table. Oh boy, that's not specific enough. This desk table might be a good one. Let's see how big it is. It's a little bigger than I want, but we're going to go with it because this is a pretend version of life. All right, so you see now that I've dropped it in here, it has these little plus signs on it. We're going to use those to rotate it. Let's see if it helps to rotate up a little bit. It might. There it goes. Great. So if I just grab from that plus sign handle, I can much more quickly rotate my table around into that horizontal position. Just square like that. Great. And I can move it up here between the chairs. Great. I can also just kind of, yeah, spacebar. I'm gonna make this look, instead of, I want it to be like a green tabletop to match the floor, and then I want the legs to be metal. So I'm gonna go over to my materials browser, glass and mirrors, metal. There you go. So we might pick something don't know, maybe something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I buy that. So I'm just kind of eyedroppering that into my paint bucket, all these table bits. You can also kind of fly around. Again, I'm using my middle mouse button to do that. And just paint things metal colored. Oh, much better. It's getting there, man. So it seems that this table is like floating up in the air kind of a lot. We should probably do something about that too, huh? Okay. Great. Let me take this tabletop down first. Okay. So I found a texture I kind of like, which is this, I don't know why it looks like this green like 3D printing texture. I'm going to just drop that on the top of this table. So click on the texture, drop it on the table. Now it's kind of the color of the SketchUp background, but that's cool. Let's just spin around and get these other sides. Oh, nope, too much. Control Z. All right, get this side. Come forward, come forward. Footstepsies. Okay, so while I was away, I fought with SketchUp and I got all of the sides of this table painted the colors that I wanted. I'm now going to drop it back down into the place that I want it to be. So I'm just going to grab my pointer tool again and spin up using the orbit tool on my middle mouse button. And I'm going to click when I'm there. Maybe. SketchUp is being wild. Spacebar. Okay. So I'm going to click outside of my table. Great. Now we can kind of see it in context with everything else again. We're going to just select the table, grab our move tool M key, and try and drop it down on the blue axis until we see it actually touch the floor. Oh, there it goes into the floor. So now I can kind of raise it up until it just sits on the floor. Like that. And then I'll just move it on the green axis back in between the chairs so it looks more like the desk does in the show. Okay, great. So that's furniture. All right, the next thing I want to grab is that pink curtain. So we're going to go search for a curtain and see what we can find. Okay, okay. Here's some curtains. Here's some curtains. I wonder if this one will work. Let's see. This is the part where we guess. See what happens. Oh no, it's still moving my table. Oh boy. Escape. Undo. Okay, so I kind of like this curtain. It came in over here. It looks like it's about the right size. And it also looks like it has a couple different pieces. So I'm going to grab it with my move tool and kind of get it out of there for a second. And then let's go into this group and see what's going on here. Oof. Zooming out, zooming out. Yeah, I like this curtain a lot, actually. I think it's the right one. I think it's the right one for me. Hand tool. Okay, so let's, spacebar, select it, okay? So it's got a few different segments to it, which is good for me. So I'm actually gonna delete all of them but one, because we're gonna look at it like the curtain is squished up on the side in its stowed away position. And now we're going to come in. I wonder if window covering says any good. No, totally doesn't. We're looking for either a color or a fabric. If we could find the right pink fabric, that would be lovely, but we can also just use a pink color. So like if I take this pink color of material and I paint it onto this curtain, will you? Would you? Could you? Come on, SketchUp, I believe in you. You can do this. color. It worked, Leo. It worked. It's pink now. Okay, great. So now it matches what happened in the actual set. Oh, what a relief. I might have had to double click into it a couple times to get there, but it's good now. We can click outside of that whole curtain object, okay? And now it's just a curtain that sits by itself. We can now move it into our set where it belongs. I'm gonna do that from a top view. So remember, if we go over here, we get our views, because that's gonna help me grab it more easily. I'm gonna use my move tool, that's the M key. All right, and pick it up. Let's bring it over here. It's gonna sit basically right next to everybody else. Let's zoom in a little. Grab it by one of its spinny handles. There it is. I'm gonna grab it right here, turn it this way. Perfect. We're gonna grab our orbit tool, gonna tip it down, and then we can pull it up out of the floor, and everything will be awesome. So spacebar picks up our cursor again, and then we can move it up on the blue axis until it just grazes the floor. Perfect, right there. Okay, so that is pretty much the answer. That's it. That's all the scenery we're gonna do. I'm gonna just slide it kind of over so it fills in that gap by the wall. It's basically perfect, exactly the way that it is right now. Okay, so now we've got our curtain, we've got our 5 chairs, and we've got our desk. The next thing I want us to do is create some renderings from this, okay? So that we can export them and send them to the director.